similar depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuits, unraveling through the miles. Oh, truth was masked by coded curtains. You didn't know, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. From the shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravity converge, yeah. Dying voices, revelations start. Ancient whispers call, they're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see, unveiling secrets, setting us free. In this epic we play our part with fearless hearts. You didn't know, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise.
system are treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his point. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking love 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. It's more than paper. unheard injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wanting shed ploys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world begin to deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but praised.
All right, welcome, and welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. Today we have a very special episode for you guys on cosmic energy and a special guest. So welcome back, all you truth seekers and tinkerers alike. I'm the Benefactor, coming at you live from the fringes of science and the edge of possibility. Today we're diving into the basics of cosmic energy with Nikola Tesla. What Nikola Tesla was really talking about, how it connects to the mysteries of the universe, and how it directly relates to the rodent coil technology I've been working on. We also have a very special guest today, but first, a quick introduction on cosmic energy. So sit back, tune your frequency up, and crack open a vault of the cosmos. What is cosmic energy according to Tesla? This is a very important question. Herein lies the basis, the foundation of all free energy devices. Nikola Tesla, the OG electric wizard, believed that everything in the universe is energy, vibrating, moving, and interconnected. But not just the kind of energy you plug into your toaster. No, Tesla talked about something much deeper: radiant energy, the etheric power, the infinite source. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Basically, cosmic energy is the invisible juice that flows all around us, from the stars, the sun, and even the vacuum of space. It's not electricity like what comes out of your wall socket. It's more subtler, more fundamental. Think of it as the Wi-Fi of the universe, transmitting power, information, and vibration. So how does this tie in with the rodent coils? Well, let's connect the cosmic dots. Rodent coils are not your average copper wire windings. They're built using a very specific pattern, a vortex-based pattern, toroidal in design, rooted in Marco Rodin's vortex-based mathematics. It's all about the 3, 6, and 9, Tesla's holy trinity of numbers. This pattern allows the coil to do something extraordinary. Tap into the natural spin of the universe, creates a zero-point event, amplifies energy with less input, and possibly even eliminating resistance at an atomic level, as noted by Daniel Nunes when he pointed it out in his Breakthrough Energy Movements presentation. What I've seen in my lab personally, and demonstrated live, is that the rodent coils actually output more than they take in, apparently, running 4 times more efficiently than the next best off-the-shelf component, under controlled conditions, producing what I've been calling a synthetic sine wave out of a bunch of chaotic nested harmonics. That's not supposed to happen under traditional theory, under traditional physics. But if you're working with cosmic energy, the math starts to make sense. So where is this energy coming from? Well, according to Tesla and other fringe pioneers, we're literally swimming in a sea of energy called the aether. Even if mainstream science abandoned aether theory a century ago, many inventors kept exploring it, and they found real results. When we use rodent coils, especially in resonance at key frequencies, we're creating the conditions for this cosmic energy to flow into our circuit. Imagine you're not forcing water through a pipe, but instead opening a gate and letting a natural river flow through. That's what we're doing with the rodent coil when it hits its sweet spot. So let me be clear. This isn't just cool science fiction. This is the beginning of a paradigm shift in how we view power, sustainability, and even consciousness itself. Rodent coils are not just tools, they're bridges to the invisible structures of reality. They represent the powers of fractals in nature, a desktop black hole. Whether it's powering a scooter, running a light for free, or maybe even tapping into healing frequencies, this new kind of science, built on old wisdom, Tesla tried to gift the world. So thanks for listening to my intro, everybody. Now we have a very special guest with us today, Elias the Cool. Elias is here to discuss cosmic energy, so sit tight, grab your popcorn, and hit that like button. Beneficence TV is where forbidden science gets a spotlight. So how you doing, Elias? Are you with us?
I think so.
Oh, awesome. Let's bring up the Discord. Oh, that's not working. Anyways, so we got audio. We don't have visual. I had a overlay that's not working, but it's okay. We have audio. So how you doing?
Pretty good. So where should we start off?
Let's start off with the basics. What is cosmic energy?
What is, like, with Tesla and goodness, this guy's name, Ed something?
Ed Gray? I think you mentioned him earlier.
Yeah, Ed Gray. They mostly cosmic like energy is like think of the water inside of a water balloon, and the water balloon is an electron. Of course, the electron is like this field thing, but we have the water balloon, and the water inside of the water balloon, and the water inside is the cosmic energy. And then when you break that open, then the cosmic energy is free to do work that you want it to do. Something like that.
What you're saying is when you break or open that circuit, the internal circuit.
Yeah, like we have this energy everywhere, but when it's contained in the electron, I can't hear you. I don't know. If
Oh, you can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's just the chat's slow.
Oh. Yeah, there might be a couple of laggy segments or cutting out here or there.
Like, yeah, I guess for cosmic energy, we're still sort of figuring it out, but what it seems to happen is when you take the electron and with a DC pulse to mitigate current, and you hit it against a resistive load, it seems to generate this cosmic energy. But I'm not sure how that ties into the toroid coil. What is that called again?
So the rodent coil represents the natural free-flowing path of energy. So energy likes to form these spiral motions, whether you view them from the macro scale on, huge star systems, they seem to form these spiraling structures, or the micro scale, your DNA is a double helix vortex, and all of these different shapes of energy seem to kind of converge into this spiraling vortex pattern. So it's kind of like the pattern of free-flowing energy. And I guess Daniel Nunez's theory is that when you get the pattern right, you can eliminate resistance at the atomic level.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also that like maybe the coil, instead of having to like break the electron to get the cosmic energy, maybe it can draw it in with its natural shape structure,
That's true. I believe
like a
that's true.
like a bowl, like it sucks it in or something.
It's interesting because, John Bedini always emphasizes that when you're utilizing cosmic energy or negative electricity, cold electricity, whatever you want to call it, 0 point energy, when you're utilizing it, it's not going to have any current. So it's going to be cold. It's going to be all potential and very, very little current. So there's a way to use this energy that's deviating from standard electrical engineering, and I think that's the biggest misconception when trying to utilize cosmic energy in a practical way. Is you don't want any heat. Like as soon as you get heat, as soon as you get current, that's you've shorted the dipole, and we're going to talk about the dipole later. After your discussion, but the dipole is essential, for maintaining that flow of cosmic energy.
Yeah, and like also with two things like people get really confused with like low current because they're always used to dealing with like wall outlet voltage with current and stuff, but when we get to the realm of no current and high like potential, they don't quite understand how it can do work, even though it can do things 10 times better.
Right, and we just discussed earlier how it's actually being converted to that usable current that the resistive load needs as soon as it hits the resistive load. But before it hits that load, it's just all potential.
Yes, 100. Yeah, that's right. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, and with the Benini motor thing, that's using DC pulses to keep it going, right?
Yes, it's using the DC pulses, and specifically, it's using the shape of the magnetic arrangements to produce what Bedini said is a monopole. It's not really a true monopole in that sense. It does have, like a pseudo or a synthetic a south pole. I think it's mostly north poles, but it's a specific arrangement that produces an H wave. So you want that. It's just a sharp transient spike of potential, and then it just kind of like bumps off. And we're capturing that spike. And with the Bedini motor specifically, what we're doing here, conditioning these batteries with the negative electricity, we're just feeding it that potential, that spike. There's no current. There's, it's not no current. If you use a very sensitive meter, I'm sure you'll get a little tiny bit, but it's not hot, right? It's all using just that the spike pulsed, and it's pulsing it, pounding it like a hammer. So that's why it takes longer to charge at first before it conditions fully. But yeah, it's conditioning them with negative electricity.
And like, I thought Benini was really smart with his device because he uses the magnet to, it feels like he uses it to make sure that the coil doesn't do its oscillation. Because Tesla had a really hard time when he discovered cosmic energy because his coils always pulsed back and forth, but Benini like sort of found a way to make sure it like just does pulses sort of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't even know that, but I'm sure it has something to do with the magnetic arrangement of the actual rotor of magnets around the coil there. So yeah, I'm not really sure. I didn't know that aspect of the motor, but that's interesting.
Well, I just sort of assumed that because of I thought that was the whole reason they had the magnet there. But,
I mean, it makes sense. You do want that sharp pulse and not like an oscillating back and forth. I mean, I can take the amp clamp and see if we pick up any AC, but I think I did that before. I don't think we picked up any AC off of it. Like we do with the lightning thief, we pick up a strong AC signal along with a strong DC signal. This is, I think, just all DC, and perhaps you're right that magnetic arrangement has something to do with pulsing that signal, taking that oscillation and pulsing it,
yeah.
something like that.
And like the coil itself is the resistive load, I think. And then like the cosmic energy like sort of collects on it and then goes down to the battery because the battery is technically ground.
Hmm.
I'm still not sure how cosmic energy flows from one potential to another, but I think that's sort of how it works.
Well, honestly, magnets, they're gateways to this cosmic energy. I like to point out to people that don't believe in free energy, or the concept of free energy, that if you calculate the amount of energy it takes to pulse a magnet and create a magnet out of a piece of material, compare that to the number of years it could sustain itself against its own weight and gravity. Nothing else can do that. You know what I mean? That's free energy by all means. That's calculated.
Yeah.
You can calculate that. So magnets themselves are a gateway, like plasma is, to this 0 point energy or whatever.
Yeah,
So
there's tons of in quotation marks free energy devices that use magnets, but it's not really free energy because they're getting energy from the magnet.
right, right, and the concept of free energy is kind of a misnomer in its own right, because what we're really doing is, if we do it correctly, is a mutual exchange, really, and
Yeah.
it's under my assumption that any coil, when pulsed, like it doesn't matter what kind of coil. You could take a wire and just coil it up and pulse a signal through it, and create a magnetic field. It's under my assumption that any coil can, when collapsed, produce some amount of radiant energy that comes with the back EMF. Now, it's usually probably very, very small, and not really worth capturing unless you have specific arrangements like we see in some of these devices.
Yeah, because all there's definitely the back EMF and since almost anything is a resistive load, it has a potential to generate the cosmic energy relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we see a lot more of this cosmic energy all around us, and we either don't have the tools or the language or the communication skills to identify what's going on, because it's everywhere. And my belief is that like anytime you pulse any kind of coil, that back EMF just comes with a little bit of radiant energy that you can use. We discussed in I think the last episode of our podcast that Bedini emphasized that the radiant energy, the cosmic energy, that spike that you see, is just part of the back EMF. Like the back EMF is a whole process, and that radiant energy is just a part of it. So it's one part of the whole. And I think that's an interesting aspect to take a look at. Whether he's wrong or right on that, we need to have that in the back of our mind while doing some of these experiments.
Yeah, definitely this there's gonna be a big language barrier. We're gonna have to create new words, probably, have a whole dictionary but in general, this whole thing is going to be like an onion, and there's going to be layers upon layers, and we're going to get things messed up and confused, but eventually we will figure it out, yeah.
Like I think we were discussing earlier, it would be a very good thing to have us get together and kind of establish law, because nobody has defining laws for these, this negative energy. We need to define this negative energy. I think Walter Russell has some laws that we can incorporate, but in terms of using, how we use this energy in systems, how we have the laws of thermodynamics that play into electrical engineering. We need laws of cold electricity.
Yeah, like a whole mathematician just like area.
And it'll serve like as a guideline for people who want to build their own devices.
Yeah, it's like I don't really like math myself, but if you want to make a device work, you can always do the math first and then build it. So it would be helpful, probably.
Yes, yeah, I know a couple of mathematicians that might be able to tackle that as we pool together our observations.
Yeah. But the big thing for it, though, is that we're going to have to figure out words and definitions for a certain aspect of things so that they
Yes.
can put in a calculation to get the output.
Yeah, one of the main problems right now is the terminology is so fragmented, right? We have one person using cold electricity, the other person's using 0 point energy, and they're fighting against each other. And they're not realizing, oh, those two terms, they're the same thing. There's different modalities of this energy for sure, but I think the terminology, because it hasn't been standardized, has been fragmented. When you make something like a forbidden to study like this, like mainstream academia has, it really pushes out the standardization, for those terms, and I think that's where we're at right now. It's so chaotic.
And like some people start fighting, but like they probably should not be fighting in the first place when they're working for the same thing.
Yes, it's counterproductive for sure. Fighting, ego-driven contests. Like this project's better than this one, but in reality, they're all parts of the same puzzle. And the puzzle we're trying to put together is, disseminating this science to the world, getting this information out there and getting it standardized in the hands of everyday people who need the technology the most. So, put aside your petty differences and, work together on this, because it's not a contest. It's something that
It might be the only thing that's not a contest.
not only that, like the future of the world depends on it, so you can't really, like when it comes down to it, like if there was a big meteor coming and going to hit the earth, do you want everybody to have the solution won by competition or cooperation? Right? No, I think all of the movies that we've seen, based around these theory or these ideas of world-ending events, they're all based on the world coming together and cooperating, not competing. So I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. And what's interesting is actually most of these old I keep saying random terminology like radiant. I can't use one word for some reason, but cosmic energy. They use it a lot for scalar wave devices that can like create shields and stuff
Yeah, scalar waves.
that
That's
could stop like the asteroids.
right, exactly, and that's
Yeah.
it's one of the theories of the rodent coil is that it does produce scalar waves. I don't know how you measure that. I don't think there is any way to measure that other than maybe the effects that it has.
There
On.
was one PDF with some math behind it. I'll give that to you. See if it works.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll send that. I'll put a note on my computer about that.
Awesome. I know you had a huge database that you sent me. I only touched the surface of it, but there's some really good stuff in there. I brushed over some of the titles of the papers.
Yeah, there's a lot. I didn't. Yeah, there's just it's a big mess. You know, I mean, I guess all great scientists work in a mess sometimes, but I feel like I should clean it up. I don't know.
It's hard when like for me, I have 10,000 thoughts that go through my head. How do you organize such a thing? So you just do your best and take notes. I don't know. There's a method for everybody. There's a method for everybody for sure. But for me personally, I have to write things down as much as possible. If I have an idea, I immediately have to write it down because I have so many ideas that go through my head during the day. It's hard for me to keep track of them, and sometimes they're fleeting.
Yeah, that happened a lot for me in um, high school. I have like a whole like trunk full of papers, but now everything's kind of slowing down. I don't know. This stuff is like this stuff is different. I don't know.
Ah, to be young again.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just that vitality.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, yeah, it flows to you, and sometimes it's fleeting. You got to write it down, like a
Yeah,
dream.
that's true. But like since I'm working with like all new things, like it's a lot harder to write down because when I write something down, it just can't quite connect it as well. Hmm. It's like all this energy transfer and like I would have to yeah, I would need like another alphabet or another dictionary.
So you have a hard time putting it into words. Like
Yeah.
you get these ideas, and they're sometimes so complex. You have a hard time putting them in words. Would you say they're more visionary than anything then?
Yeah.
Like visions?
I sort of when I read about how Tesla like was able to simulate things in his head, I've sort of tried my best to do the same thing. So then when I come up with an idea, I try to write it down, but like I have to do pictures.
John Hutchinson was the same way. He
Yeah.
just he pictured it in his head, and I believe that the process of translating into to paper and pen was complex.
Mhm. But like I'm also still learning. So originally what I thought was that the it was that the DC I didn't quite connect cosmic energy and DC pulses until recently in one of until the Benini motor, um, which changed um, the flight PDFs because they use DC pulses in a Tesla coil, which generates the cosmic energy. So then you have to use that for flight. I don't know. It's a lot of pieces.
Hmm.
Like like when one thing changes, the whole building falls apart and you have to rebuild it. I guess it's
Right.
just I
So
know that you gotta keep an open mind, but it gets annoying when you just cleaned up this mess 10 minutes ago. Can it just stay clean?
well, the idea that these systems, when they're working correctly, especially anti-gravitic, they have to be in all the components have to be in harmony with one another. That's something that's I think this is something is important. Taking observation from the lightning thief device that I'm working with here, it you throw off one component and it changes the waveform entirely, and the efficiency just it shoots down. So
Yeah. And like another thing is though, about these devices and stuff, um, they hardly talk about like anti-gravitics, but more of like creating a blimp in the ether where you don't have any mass.
Yeah, like a pressure bubble.
Yeah, like a blimp or a fish in water, like just sitting there, and you can adjust the pressure to move throughout the medium.
Hmm, that's
But
interesting.
yeah, so, and that was interesting because originally I did think it was about gravity, but
Well,
yeah,
the aether is like a fluid or a gaseous medium, so
yeah.
and it's everywhere. So if you can displace it like that, you're going to negate the effects of gravity. Yeah, for sure. That's
hmm
interesting.
And that's most of the like of the PDFs that I have about we as humans trying to make flying devices. It's we found out that we can do that with cosmic energy and alternating frequencies. Um, I'm not entirely sure how UFOs do it, but I would reckon it would be similar.
Similar to the T Townsend Brown effect. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still new ground, so I could be wrong again.
Hmm. Interesting.
Um,
See,
yeah, the scalar waves are really interesting because they can they they're basically like a Swiss Army knife. They can, if you change certain aspects, they can do different things like cool things down, heat things up, or just create a solid barrier.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's informative and helpful describing it as a Swiss Army knife in that aspect. There's a lot of useful modalities.
hmm I've the PDF I have talks about mostly it heating up things and cooling down things with certain nodes, like you know how a sound wave has nodes of um, just independent pressure.
Yes.
It can, if you set it up to have it like that, you can create um, different pressure zones. I'm not sure if the pressure zones are ether or cosmic energy, but
Right. So it's similar to
yeah,
the acoustic levitation effect, where you create like a node and an antinode.
yeah, like that. And it you can cause certain things to happen. I mean, I guess like Dr. Manhattan, when you get down to the ether level things, you can just do whatever you want to do if you know how to move it correctly.
Well, then I guess it really makes sense that Doctor Manhattan's symbol on his forehead is the protium, is
Yeah.
the hydrogen atom. So, which is
hmm
protium's the most abundant element in the cosmos, and it's Malcolm Bendel's theory that in his plasmoid unification model that these plasmoids they run on uh, protium, so it's everywhere. And if you want,
Exactly.
yeah, if you want like a real like textbook gonna be compatible with your mainstream academia theory, that's it. These atomic batteries they run on protium, and protium is everywhere.
I think that is a good idea because always giving people a bridge to walk from their ideas to um, newer ideas,
Yeah, it's
like a nice
important
smooth bridge is important. Yeah.
because otherwise, somebody who comes in here who is a part of mainstream academia isn't not going to necessarily understand the esoteric terminology and what we're talking about unless we bridge that gap to what they've been taught. and there is a bridge there, and I just, we need to construct it, intelligently.
Yeah, because I mean, we can always try to get out of what like basic programming humans have, but we still have them. Like when people get new things, they have their flight, or freeze response.
We didn't get any questions so far, but Deezajar Duff said, even when there's not much people watching currently for now, thanks for doing this anyways, and a heart symbol. Thank you, Duff. We really appreciate this. Yes, there's not a lot of viewers, but this is important information. So hopefully it will circulate with the, with the VODs, the video on demands after the live ends. But, it's important to understand what cosmic energy is, how it works, and the properties of it if you're going to utilize it in a practical way for your systems. For instance, in this Bedini motor, if you want to charge a battery with another battery and then flip it and not have to use the grid, you just flip it, and when it's depleted, and use the one battery as the trigger and the other as the charge battery. You can do that indefinitely until the parts wear out. It is, it's possible. I'm running one right now. It's conditioning these batteries, and we're going to talk about that after this discussion. But they work, but you have to understand how they work if you're going to build one.
Yup. Like yeah, like if you don't know what's going on, then it just makes everything a lot harder.
And one of the easiest starting points, at least for me, from my perspective and my history, is find something from the Practical Guide to Free Energy Devices. That book is full of really useful information. Read it, find a device, and then build it exactly how the inventor tells you to build it. Don't deviate at all. And when you do that, then you can get a better understanding of the principles and the effects of this kind of energy as you make your observations.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to find where you're standing, and you have to find a way to transition to where they're standing. Because if you want to alienate it just because it's not what you're used to,
Right,
you want to give it
correct.
the benefit of doubt and find common ground.
Exactly. When I went into this whole thing, I went into it with an open mind, but slightly skeptical, to be honest. I didn't know if the rodent coil did what it was claimed to have done, but I knew that, even if 1% of the claims about the rodent coil were true, somebody had to be continuing this work that these people were doing, and just, being bought up and black shelved by these big companies. It's happened like 2 or 3 times. Somebody discovers a way to utilize this rodent coil or ABHA coil in a specific way. They understand the properties, like we've been understanding the properties here, and a big company comes by and they buy up the device. They say, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money to continue your research, but you have to delete all your videos and you have to close it down. No open sourcing. And what ends up happening is it just gets black shelved. They either get a bunch of money to retire, or they go and work for a company that it's all closed source technology and they have no say over what they invented. So the approach that I'm trying to take is just open source everything, put it in the public domain under the public domain license. And it's very easy. All you have to do is claim that it's a public domain invention. And there's a lot of inventions that are in the public domain that every company uses, ubiquitously, so it's important to understand the principles and the properties of this energy, but you can't, like you said, you can't just go into it being completely skeptical and closed-minded. Otherwise, you're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, gotta keep an open mind. Well, for me, I just like the feeling of thinking, which is technically an open mind, but but more puzzle related.
Right. And I like to remind people who are like physicists or people who are still in academia, I don't care how many credentials they have, I like to remind them until we unify gravity with the other fundamental forces of nature, until we unify the fundamental forces of nature with gravity, we really don't have a full understanding of what's going on. And, John Lennon said it best. At this point, the more we see, the less we know. And that's for sure. For sure.
Well, it's like the more we see, the less we know, because when we know something, we see more.
Yeah,
So like the
well,
more we learn,
the
the
more
more we see.
the more
Yeah.
questions we have. Exactly. The more we see, the more questions we have about what we've seen. It's just, it's
Feedback loop.
basics.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you have to go down to the basics, and a little bit of philosophy is very important, when trying to understand what's going on with the world and why we are in a state where, free energy devices or energy recycling, as I like to call it, has been shut out, and like laughed at, like the Mythbusters. They called us free energy freaks. And I'm sitting here running a Bedini motor that's clearly completely, useful, and completely different than the one that they claim to debunk. I'm like,
You
they
know,
were,
Adam Savage, he's not in Mythbusters anymore, but he does have a YouTube channel. I wonder if we could send him one.
yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, maybe, but I don't know. At this point, it's like, I've tried to send information to people who are in the mainstream, like Robert Murray Smith, who did a complete hack job of the rodent coil. And I sent him it. I'm like, look, you're doing it wrong. This is how you do it. And this is how you get useful energy out of this coil. Can you please, do another video on it? And here's the guide. I have everything open. Follow it to the T, and you'll see. And nothing. I've even sent information to Dr. Greer, who literally in his documentary, The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, said that we need to have people with live cameras on their devices, having them 24/7 streaming them, building it and open sourcing it. That's what I'm doing here, but it's like nobody cares to listen. Something's wrong with his email, though. The email for free energy devices is not working. It comes back with an error. So I had to send it through another email. Maybe that's the issue with him, but everybody else, I don't know. They just, they're
Yeah.
stubborn. They're
We
stubborn.
need to create the bridge. Like the bridge is important.
I think the main bridge, other than what we're trying to do here on these podcasts, is actually having a device that works like this and showing them. And eventually, when I condition these batteries and I don't have to use the grid to charge them anymore, we're going to condition them, and they are being conditioned. We'll go over that information, the data later, but I'll stream it. I'll live stream it as long as I can. Maybe even 24/7. This device just running without having to charge it. You just switch over the batteries when it runs out, and it charges the other one.
Yeah. And like we could also do like a charge. Like I wonder if a charge sensor would work on the battery. So then when the battery's charged, it flips.
That's
Over to
exactly what I was trying to think about. I wasn't thinking about maybe an automatic one, but maybe a manual one. So when it's ready to switch, I can just, flip a couple of switches and it, switches over the back. I don't know how I would do it. I have a couple of ideas, but they're very arcane. I'm not I'm not a very good electrical engineer in that sense. I'm just a trainee.
I'm more of a analog person myself, but I feel like if we make the device as hands-free as possible, then people won't throw up their hands and say it's fake. But
That's true. Yeah, no, that's an absolutely very, very true statement. I think I'm gonna dwell on that and think about that further, because No, that's very important. I think you're absolutely right.
I think that, but I don't think we have to really make it. I think that like you could like they have Raspberry Pi computers or something, and it could
Do it, yeah. Do the switching
yeah.
on, yeah. No, exactly. We can do something like that, yeah. And I'll honestly, I'm gonna discuss it with Kevin from K Energy .store. That's where I bought this Bedini motor from, and he's the one, building these amazing Bedini devices, and he might have a couple of ideas, or maybe he even has a device for sale on his store that we can use to switch the batteries like that. But I'll talk to him and see what he thinks about it.
Yeah, because like if he has a small team or something, then definitely he could do the coding or like the
Well, I think it's just him, but honestly, we don't need a team. I could do the coding with ChatGPT. Easy. I've done it many times. If it doesn't work, we just feed it back into the ChatGPT and tell it the error, and it will correct itself. It's, sometimes it doesn't work right away, but, that course correcting method eventually does work.
That's good.
Yeah,
I
no.
haven't used it for coding yet, so
Well, honestly, I feel bad for the people who chose programming as a career path, because at this point, it's becoming more and more irrelevant.
yeah. I mean, I kind of feel bad for anyone who got a college, college degree, because it's really just a piece of paper.
Yeah. Well, honestly, the reason that because I'm in school. I'm in school
You're in
for,
school?
yes, I'm in school for engineering systems. It's the associate's degree in DeVry University, because DeVry doesn't have or there is no associates for electrical engineering. That's the bachelor's. So I'm an associate's for engineering systems. It's all the basics, and the reason why I'm doing it is not only just to learn the mainstream, way, but also so I have some credentials to say, hey, I went the regular route. I learned what you learned, and I still, am challenging it.
I didn't, yeah, so you're doing it more of
It's more of a
get the bridged gap, yeah.
exactly, yeah. It's more of a bridge than anything. It's to say, hey, I have credentials. I went to this route. I saw what you saw.
Because all they really see is a piece of paper. That like important piece of paper.
And to be honest, like, I have been in school a lot shorter than I've been studying this information. It is like really wild how much they're missing, and how much is not really taught. Like, how easy it is to take this information and get an A+ on your paper for renewable energy systems, like
Yeah, it's true.
it's just uncanny. And the teachers are really, from what I've experienced, the professors are a lot more open than they were in previous generations to the idea that, yeah, you can access some kind of energy from the vacuum, and it's been like hush hush.
Yeah. Originally where I got started was about their vacuum, their confused vacuum state that they were talking about. Yeah. I don't think I still have that PDF file anymore, but that's where it started, yeah.
Interesting. Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, it's like they had devices based off of that to try and get energy. So, I don't know.
Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour. It's 10 minutes to 7, which is where we're going to translate into our next segment with an intermission. Is there anything that you would like to close it up with? Anything that you would like to talk about that we haven't talked about?
Well, stay curious and keep an open mind, I guess.
Nice. Well, no, that's always good advice. Stay curious and keep an open mind.
Curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought him back.
Oh, I like that. That.
That's the full thing,
just
People
don't
always say the first half, but never the second half. But
just don't put him in Schrodinger's box. That's it. Don't put the cat in Schrodinger's box.
yeah. You don't know if it's dead or alive.
Oh
All
man.
right.
All right. Well, we're gonna close up the discussion segment and head into a quick break before I continue the podcast. I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast and explaining everything. Your journey basically into this information, and I'd love to have you on again to go deeper into these subjects.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's much. It's really fun. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's really fun having these discussions, honestly, because if not, I'd just be sitting here talking to myself, having these discussions.
Yeah.
and, and I'm not good
Uh,
company.
well, I mean, you're a lot more fun than some of the other fringe people.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I try to keep it light here and have a good time and make sure
Okay.
everybody's laughing. That's it.
Yeah. Laughter helps pave the way to a bright future.
Exactly. So, yeah, and I want to remind everybody that you guys are the ones who keep this channel alive. Even if you're not paid members or haven't donated any money, just liking, subscribing, and watching the videos, it keeps this channel alive. We're not taking any sponsorships that limit our voice. We're not taking any deals or contracts that would be associated with somebody big who could potentially say, oh, you can't say that, or you can't talk about this, or you can't show this. So it's all on you guys. And you've been doing an amazing job keeping this channel alive, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. So with that, we're going to head into a break, and when I come back, more on cosmic energy. All right, you still there? Aw, thank you, Jalapeno. And I forgot to mention everybody, I'm gonna give out free memberships in a few minutes. So before we come back, I'm gonna give out a bunch of new memberships. So stick around. Thank you to new members, Artem, Tom, Son of Tom, John Connor, and Steven. You guys are all a part of the Benefactor group. Check out our members-only videos now, guys. Ooh, and Hall Effects. What a cool name. Welcome to the new Industrial Revolution, everybody. We will be back shortly.
Majestic moments in cosmic flight, holding on to stars of starlight. There's a light within the dark waves, guided by echoes and ancient ways. Unify our reflection, with everything there's a connection. Feel the divine sensation. Everyone feels the goodness of invitation.
This video was bang on brilliant stuff. I'll give it a shout out in my next video. I've forwarded it to Malcolm to check out too.
The viewers have spoken.
What an amazing documentary. Thanks for producing it.
Never seen this all tied together so well. Gonna share the heck out of it. Bravo and thank you.
Divine Science is officially a hit.
Amazing stuff, very nicely presented. New sub who can't consume your content quick enough. Great video, dude. Keep at it. You are doing the good work.
You did a great job putting this all together. It's a great overview, goes into amazing depth at times, so it's interesting for the larger swath of people. Well played, sir.
Okay, so I didn't sleep last night because I watched this 3 times and binged the rest of the channel. You have fantastic instincts for piecing concepts together. Almost every section was something I was already familiar with in a different context, and this documentary was the thread connecting them all.
Join us on a journey into a place of hidden knowledge. A place where science is stranger than fiction.
In base lab alone with my mind. Trivial theories, they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day. But even in the crowd, I'm still a castaway. Alienated from the A's of that adventure in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Capital structures crumbling from the same old stem. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard injustice, burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, wanting shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treated like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like, what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I know I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop it.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Can't you hear his voice?
All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. Today, we're diving deep into the connection between cosmic energy and our work with the rodent coils. And let me tell you, the universe is about to give us some mind-blowing insights into how energy flows, not just through wires, but through us, through everything. Actually, let me scoot up over a little bit so you can see the Bedini motor a little bit better behind me. There we go. Bedini motor is still running strong. All right, so let's start with a big picture. Let's start with a big picture concept. Excuse me. Cosmic energy. Now, when we talk about cosmic energy, we're talking about a force that is all around us. It's the kind of energy that permeates everything. The stars, the planets, the very air we breathe. You might have heard people talk about it in spiritual or metaphysical terms, but it's actually based on real scientific principles. We're talking about zero-point energy, the energy of the vacuum, the underlying field of the cosmos that holds the potential to power our world without the need for fuel. This energy is thought to exist everywhere, constantly flowing, invisible, and free to tap into once we understand how to harness it. And this is where the rodent coil comes into play. The rodent coil is a perfect example of this. It's not just another piece of technology. It's a device that seems to connect with cosmic energy in a way that we've never truly understood before. But when you run energy through this coil in a specific configuration, it starts to self-organize, forming complex electromagnetic patterns that mirror natural structures we see in nature, like the Fibonacci sequence, and even the way galaxies spiral. Now, to give a bit of an update, I've been working with these coils for quite some time, and recently, I've noticed something really amazing happen with the batteries with the Bedini motor. Now, I'm conditioning these batteries with the Bedini motor, and I have been since last Wednesday, okay? I've had to recharge the battery once off the grid because they're not fully conditioned yet, but we have some big news. The big breakthrough is happening right now. These batteries, which would previously charge up to only about 12.9 volts and then stabilize around 12.8, 12.84, something like that, they're now charging to 13.3 volts and higher. And after resting, they're even holding charge to 13.2 volts. This is huge because it means they're storing radiant energy, the invisible energy that comes from the vacuum of space, from the cosmos itself. Here's where things get even cooler. Conditioning these batteries doesn't just mean throwing them on a charger and waiting for the voltage to rise. It's a deeper process of altering the internal chemistry to accept radiant energy. You see, the key to this is pulsing the battery and swapping it with another. You have two batteries here. They're both the same 12 volt, 20 amp hour Pirate batteries. I got them from Amazon. You pulse one battery with another. Okay, you have a trigger battery and a charge battery. You're pulsing one battery and charging another, and then swapping it when it drains. What happens is that one battery acts like a trigger battery, getting pulsing the energy into the other battery. The battery that's being conditioned is the battery that's being pulsed, and it's starting to hold more charge. But here's the most interesting thing. The charge isn't just regular positive or negative charge, it's cosmic radiant energy that's been absorbed, similar to the way plants absorb sunlight for photosynthesis. It might be even some kind of microscopic plasmoid structures that embed themselves into the battery plates specifically. As we know from Malcolm Bendel's thunderstorm generator, plasmoids do have the ability to embed themselves into metal and then reactivate at a later point. I know Malcolm Bendel had his thunderstorm generator running for years and then deactivated the thunderstorm generator, didn't run it for 20 years, and then ran it. And it ran without the bubbler, the water assembly, without the plasmoid generator itself, because the plasmoids were still in the thunderstorm sphere waiting to be activated or reactivated. So, and it ran like that for about 30 minutes before it needed the water assembly to be returned on. So that's interesting. Maybe that's something what's going on here with the battery and conditioning. So now imagine a world where we no longer rely on traditional grid power or fossil fuels or even standard battery chemistry. If we can harness this cosmic energy, not just from the grid, but directly from the environment around us, then we can have truly unlimited power. Technically, once we condition these batteries successfully, we should be able to swap them indefinitely without having to use the grid to recharge one or the other. Now, I've already hooked up the rodent coil system to the output of the system, and it does run. So we're going to test that as well. See how it does, powering this device indefinitely until the parts wear out, while it's actually doing some useful work with the Lightning Thief device attached as well. So that's going to be very, very interesting to experiment with, because I'm very curious to see what our results are going to be. To make this real, battery conditioning isn't just about charging the batteries with a standard kind of energy. It is what some call negative energy or radiant energy, cosmic energy, 0-point energy. There's lots of names, but something important here in the system that Bedini specifically built, utilizing this energy, is the dipole, and he talks about this constantly in his Energy from the Vacuum series. Now, I'm going to go into what the dipole is and how to bridge that with traditional engineering. So now we're diving into the concept of the dipole, a term frequently used by John Bedini, and how traditional engineering views this phenomenon compared to the approach we take in our experiments with free energy devices. Now, in traditional electrical engineering, when we talk about the dipole, we're referring to the magnetic poles that are created when current flows through a wire from one point to another. Essentially, the current generates a magnetic field around the conductor, creating positive and negative poles at opposite ends of the wire. This is a simple concept, and it is the basis of many electrical devices. Think of a standard battery. The positive and negative terminals create this potential difference or voltage that pushes current through the circuit. So in a magnet, you have a north and south pole. In a wire full of electricity, you essentially have the same thing. And this is what Bedini is talking about when he refers to the dipole. This is very important. When we refer to the dipole being shorted, we're talking about creating a path where the current can flow freely from the positive terminal to the negative terminal, typically via a conductor or circuit. This is the foundation of traditional electrical engineering, where the current moves through the circuit and the energy is consumed by devices like lights, motors, or resistors. It's a simple and well understood process. But here's the catch. This method, though effective, tends to waste energy. The current flows from one side to the other, but in the process, we lose energy to heat, friction, and other forms of inefficiency. This is the typical approach in traditional engineering, but it is not what we're after in free energy work. So when we talk about free energy devices and unconventional approaches, like the ones explored by John Bedini and Tom Bearden, our goal is to avoid the standard shorting of the dipole. We don't want to just let energy dissipate in the traditional manner. Instead, we're focused on finding ways to harness the energy from the magnetic field or other phenomenon in more creative and efficient ways. In Bedini's system, for example, he focuses on the collapse of the magnetic field when the current is interrupted or switched off. This is a dynamic process that can release energy which can be captured and used rather than wasted. It is recycled. Similarly, with devices like the rodent coil, we aim to manipulate the resonance of the system to capture this energy in a way traditional circuits just don't or can't. So traditional circuits are designed for the continuous flow of current in a loop, but this doesn't always translate into the most efficient or effective use of the energy. By shorting the dipole, we're essentially allowing current to flow in a predictable manner, but we're not tapping into the full potential of the system. In contrast, our goal with the free energy and resonance-based devices is to avoid wasting this energy and tapping into the energy that traditional engineers overlook, recycling it in a more sustainable way to generate, store, and convert. In conclusion, when we talk about the dipole, in the context of free energy devices, we're moving away from traditional short circuits and exploring a deeper, more efficient way to work with the energy. We're not just interested in the flow of current from point A to point B, we're looking to unlock hidden energy, harness the collapse of magnetic fields, and utilize resonance in a way that traditional methods simply don't. All right, so in the future, I'll be continuing to experiment with these devices, testing and refining the process, and sharing the results with you all as we move forward. But what I can tell you right now is that we're on the right path. We're tapping into something far bigger than we could have ever imagined. Cosmic energy isn't a concept of the past, it's the energy of the future, and we're beginning to harness it right now. And with that, I'll leave you with this thought. Every time we discover something new about how energy moves, how it flows, how it interacts with matter, we are literally opening a door to the universe. So stay tuned, everybody, because we're just getting started here. The universe is full of possibilities, and we're about to take the journey through some of the most mind-bending science you've ever heard of. The revolution of free energy is coming, and we're all a part of it. So next time you hear cosmic energy, don't roll your eyes, pay attention. It might just be the universe trying to plug you in to a higher knowledge. Thanks for joining us today on the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. If you're curious to go deeper, check out my Do-It-Yourself 0-Point Energy Guide, the Phase 2 guide in the description of this video. Or catch my experiments on future YouTube videos or previous ones. Stay radiant, stay curious, and remember, you're not just made of random stardust. You're a unique frequency tuned to the universe around you, one that is essential for the existence of the universe as a whole. The energy of the cosmos is always within reach. I'm the Benefactor. Good night.
In the depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuits, unraveling through the miles. Oh, Revelations on the rise.
Thank you, Jessica. The background is something I've worked really hard on.
From the shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark.
Thanks again to our special guest, Elias the Cool, for his amazing discussion on cosmic energy. We'll catch you guys next time here on Beneficence TV.
They're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Living in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see, unveiling secrets, setting us free. In this epic, we play our part with fearless hearts.
So I had the battery hooked up to the lights this whole thing, this whole segment. And I hook it back up to the multimeter, take it off the rig. It's still over 13 volts, guys. The battery is still over 13 volts, and I used it this whole segment.